Hello, crafting friends. I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Simply Stamping Sunday. I'm so happy that you're able to join me tonight, either live or on the replay. That is awesome. I'm just checking. I've repositioned my camera, so I think everything looks pretty good. So I just wanted to make sure of that and make sure everything is coming in clearly. There we go. All right. Well, thank you for joining me on this St. Patrick's Day. Another beautiful, almost spring day. Spring arrives this week. I can't wait. We have, it's been a long winter, so I'm looking forward to a spring. So like every Sunday, I start with a show and tell. So let me show you what I was working on last night. I was working on actually my Easter cards. And so I was using the Excellent Eggs set. So here is the first card. It's all done in Bubble Bath ink, that beautiful pink. The little bunny, I love the little bunny. Here we have one in Soft Seafoam and Lemon Lolly. Just made really soft colors, spring colors. Here we have a chocolate bunny in Balmy Blue. This one shouts spring and Easter in Pool Party with those beautiful little spring flowers. I love them. Here we have one in Fresh Freesia and a beautifully decorated Easter egg. Here's another one in Balmy Blue. Here I tried to add lots of color by using the Designer Series paper. This one, the main background color is Lemon Lolly. And then I made two little gifts. I am going to be putting a package of toddler crayons in this. And so it's a crayon box. And then I just added some Easter eggs for her to color. So you can see the inside of that. I just did some different cutting and put that together. And this is an oldie but goodie. This is an Easter basket. And it's just made with a 6x6 piece of Designer Series paper. And then I made a band that's 6 inches by 1 inch. I embossed the Easter egg in white on Heather Highland paper and then stamped Happy Easter in the Bubble Bath. And it goes together in no time at all. Allows you to see both the inside and the outside of the Designer Series paper, but you can make these baskets really quick. So that's my show and tell for tonight. I feel like I finally have everything Easter done, so that feels pretty good. So we are on week 3 of using Planet Paradise and Very Best Occasions. And let's just review where we've been, and then I'll show you where we're going tonight. So week 1, we made these 2 birthday cards and 1 Love You, Miss You card. So that was week 1. And week 2, which was last weekend, we made these 2 cards. And this week we're going to go a little more detailed, more layers. And our first card that we're going to make tonight is this one here. We're going to use some of the current in colors. So that's going to be our Boho blue card. And then our second card is going to be using the Moody Mauve as our background color. We're using the let me just make sure I say what designer series paper. We're using the Poetic Expressions Designer Series paper tonight. So both of these pieces come from that. Okay, let's set these aside and get started. So for our first card, which is the the Boho Blue card, you are going to need, we need a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 thick basic white as our background, as our card base. So let's just give that a nice embossing, burnishing. We're going to then need a piece of Boho Blue that measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And we're going to need a piece of the Designer Series paper. It's double-sided. We have the bubble bath on the back and the Boho Blue on the front. And this piece is 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And we're going to just take our snail, our Stampin' Seal. I don't know if I'll ever not call it snail. And I'm going to adhere this to the Boho Blue cardstock. And adhered this to the front of the card. And our first part of the card is all done. Let's get that nice and centered. There we go. Then the next thing that you're going to need are 3 pieces of crumb cake cardstock. They all measure 1 1/4 inch by 3 inches. This is going to be our background. That's going to go right on the front of the card. It's going to be centered like that. And I'm going to be stamping on one of them. So I'm going to take some Night of Navy ink and You're the Best Ever. And we're going to stamp that right now. And then we can put those on our background. When I first made my sample, I stamped it in Boho Blue, but it didn't show up very well. So I decided I'm going to stamp tonight, You're the Best Ever, in the Night of Navy. And that shows up much nicer than the Boho Blue. So let's attach these. I'm going to start by attaching the center one. So again, I'm just going to be using my Stampin' Seal. And I'm going to center this what appears to be centered. It might be a little off, but it should be close to being centered. Then I am going to put the next one to the right, and then this one to the left, and it's not centered because this, need to move both of these over just a little bit. So just a tad over. It was really the middle one that I needed to move the most. There we go. And now I can attach the last one right over here. Well, maybe I had it okay. I'm such a perfectionist, I'm sorry. But I want them even. Okay, now we should have it looking good. Okay, so that's what the front of the card looks like with the "You're the Best Ever." All right, so now we're going to do some stamping and then cutting. And I, like in other weeks, I have already pre-cut, but I'm going to show you what we're going to stamp. So to start with, we need a pot in Night of Navy. So let's get that inked up and stamped. There's our Night of Navy. That looks pretty awesome. And that's it that we need for Night of Navy. Then we need a pot with Boho blue. And that's the littlest pot. There we go. I actually think I stamped that in Balmy Blue. Let me just take a look. See which color I like the best. Nope, it was in Boho Blue. Just looked a little darker. All right, let's put that one away. And then I'm going to grab my Misty Moonlight for the last one. So we're going to ink up this large stamp. And there we go. We got our 3 pots done. Now let's stamp some greenery. So for this pot, we're just using this one here, and it's going to be in Garden Green. And then we need some, let's see, what do I want next? I think I'm going to go with Old Olive next. And what I did, I'm stamping these two. Both in Crumb Cake and Old Olive. So I just mounted them on the same stamp so that I can stamp it, clean it off with my trusty Stampin' Scrub. And then I can stamp it in Crumb Cake. There we go. And I'm going to stamp the larger leaves on a separate piece of paper. I am going to do some, so I am going to be using the Mossy Meadow on this. So I'm going to bring out a piece of scrap paper, because what I'm going to want to do is take the veined, the thicker veined leaf, and I am going to stamp that couple times. Going to clean it. And then I'm going to use the reverse side to fill it. So I'm going to turn that over. And now I am going to ink it up so I get that nice solid image. I'm going to stamp it off. And I mean, it stamps really well. And then I am going to be filling this image here. So stamp off and then fill it. It comes out of the sides a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going to be cutting them out. So you can see how it fills it really nicely. Gives it a nice look. Okay, so then we're going to use the same ink and I'm going to stamp the other leaf. So we're just going to stamp that. There we go. And I think that is everything we need. So these are the ones that we need. Let me just clean off a few stamps because we're going to need these in the next card. And they'll be all set to go. Alrighty. So, like I said, through the magic of television, I have these all cut out just to save us some time. So everything is right there. So I've got my 3 pots here. I've got my different leaves. Well, it looks like I'm missing a leaf, so we will cut one out. So I'm just going to cut around the image, moving my cardstock, not my scissors, like we learned in probably what, 1st grade or kindergarten when we learned to cut. And it doesn't take long at all. I do like to leave a little bit of border around mine. Not much, but just a tad. And there we have it. We have everything we need. And a little extra, I think. All right. So, let's start putting the pots together. On this pot, I am going to start by adding some adhesive to the back side so that I can start attaching leaves. And I'm going to have my first leaf. I want them to look like they're coming out of the pot, but I'm going to turn them a little bit. So we have one there. Then I'm going to take this one and put right behind this leaf, and then have this leaf coming out from behind. There we go. And then I'm going to put one more in, but I need some more adhesive back here so it will have a place to go. And this one I am just going to stand up a little higher. So there we go. There's our first potted image. Now in this one, we're going to have all the little pieces. So I'm going to again just put some adhesive on the back of the pot, and I am going to start with my greenery coming out over the edges. And I'm going to add a nice high piece right here in the middle. And another one. Just going to be filling it all in, adding more adhesive when I need it. Trying to have some coming and going. And I think we'll put one more tall plant right back here. Oops, need more adhesive. There we go. And that is our second potted plant. Nice and full. Third potted plant is the easiest because we don't have to add extra pieces. Just put a little adhesive on and add this to the center of the pot. There we go. Our 3 plants are done. So I'm going to be using dimensionals to add these to the front of our card. So just going to put these, I'm using the larger dimensionals. On here I might use some small ones, but I think I'm going to go for the ones that are in the back to help hide the large dimensionals. I like to use several dimensionals because I don't like things that I'm popping up to go flat in my envelope. So I'm going to start here at the base. And I'm not going way up to the top. I'm going to kind of go in the middle there. There we go. Okay, so now all we have to do is put these on. So I'm going to start with this one. It's going to be right at the bottom of this. So our small plant is going to be all the way to the right. The medium, well, it's kind of large. The medium pot, I'll say, will be in the middle. And I'm going to raise that up just a little bit. And then the larger pot will go up a little higher, just to add some interest with the card, having the plants not be right across from each other. So this one will go up a little higher. And that is our first card. Love it. So pretty. Okay, we're going to set that aside. And we're going to make our second card. This one we're going to be doing some stamping right on to the, excuse me, right onto the page. So I did do some pre-stamping, and that stamping included the, the 3 pots and that one set of leaves. So I'm going to just put this together. No sense you seeing me stamp the same things over again. So there we go. And this one's going to, oops, that's the wrong, put it on the wrong one. That is not paying attention. There we go. And this is also going to use dimensionals to hold it up. So we'll just put those there so that they're ready to go. All right. So for this card, we are going to need again, our basic white thick cardstock, measuring 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to burnish that edge. We are going to need a piece of basic white cardstock that measures 3 by 4. That's not 3 by 4. I don't know why basic white cardstock that measures 3 by 4. That's what's going into the center of the card. We're also going to need a strip that measures 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches, and we'll stamp that in just a minute. And then for the rest of the paper that we need, we're going to need a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 piece of the Moody Mauve cardstock, and then of the Designer Series paper, a 4 inch by 5 1/4 inch. It's funny, this afternoon I was designing my Fun Fold Friday, and I was thinking, oh, I don't use Moody Mauve very much, so I decided that was the color I was going to use. And then I pulled out this, which I designed a month ago and forgot that I was using it, and ended up seeing that, well, yeah, I did use it. Okay, so we're going to stamp Endlessly Grateful on this in Moody Mauve. So let me get my... And I go with a larger piece so that I have enough room to flag it, make it a banner at the end. So there we have our Endlessly Grateful. And put this away. And what I'm going to do is just cut this piece off of the end like that. And then when I banner, I just take my scissors and cut a short way in on halfway, and then I go to each side and I cut up to that mark. And that gives me my bannered edge. Very easy to do. All right, let's get that out of the way. And that I am going to be putting on dimensionals as well. So that is all ready. Okay, so let's do some stamping. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to put this where I want it to be. And I'm going to grab a Post-it note over here. Just grab a pad. Since I'm not stamping this, I'm going to add my pots first. But I want to do a little bit of masking. And this is really easy to do for this card. So I'm going to put the Moody Mauve pot where I want it to be. And I'm going to take my Post-it note and I'm going to put this right across the top of it. And I can see the outline of the pot in my sticky note. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp my 2 images that I want. So I'm going to start with my smaller one, and I'm going to use the Mossy Meadow again. And I am going to stamp 4 or 5 of these. And I'm going to start right here. Here's my first one. Second one. Third one. Oh, I've got room. And fourth one. There we go. So if we peek, you can see how it looks like it's going into the image. So I'm going to put this down again. And now, let me see, did I get enough? Oh, I want one more. Let's add one more because we have the room for it. There we go. So now I'm going to take the back side of that. Let me get my scrap paper again. I'm going to take the back side of that stamp and just add, and I'm going to stamp off, and then I am going to be stamping right over these. Just getting some nice big leafy greenery in the back of this. And we'll go over these two. There we go. And so there's our first pot of plants. Looks awesome. So next I am going to use, don't need both of these, I'm just going to use this, and I'm going to be doing some stamping on and stamping off. I'm going to use the Post-it note trick again. This one is in the potted, the petal pink potted plant. So I'm going to add my adhesive, and this one is going to go up a little higher, like that, and I'm going to add there we go. I want to make sure it's straight. Now, if I messed up a little bit, I always can take the pot off and fix it too. And I'm going to use Granny Apple Green now. Get some nice brightness. So I can feel where my pot starts. And this time I am going to be stamping and then restamping. And so that I get some of this beautiful dual colors. There we go. That one is all set. And now what I'm going to do is add this one that we made earlier, and put it right in the middle. So it's going to go right here. Isn't that sweet? Just looks so rich for springtime. Okay, so let's grab our card back. This is almost done. Just have two things left. We're going to add this on dimensionals. So let me grab those. Put one in each corner, and then this is a decent sized piece of paper. I'll put two in the middle. So we'll take those off. And this is going to go right in the middle of our piece of, on front of our card. And then we're going to put the greeting right above it. Oh, we haven't added that to the front of the card. So let's add that to the front of the card. Always make sure you check that you're putting it on the right way, because I speak from experience when I have put my card on backwards. And be careful not to stick your things down on things that they get stuck on. I know that from experience too. So we're going to add this to the front of our card. And then we're going to take this and put it just shy of the middle. And then our greeting is going to go right at the top. Right here. And that is card number 2. So pretty. So the 2 cards we made tonight here is the first one, and here is the second one. So much fun, and like I said, it's amazing what you can do with just stamps, ink, and paper. You don't need a whole lot of bling. You don't need a whole lot of ribbon or other embellishments, as long as you have the basics. And that's what Simply Stamping is all about. So now next Sunday night, I have a surprise for you. I am going to use this stamp set, and we are going to create 2 Christmas cards. That is how great and versatile this stamp set is. So make sure you set your alarms to remind you to join me at 7 o'clock next Sunday night for 2 Christmas cards with the Planted Paradise stamp set. And I will be back on Friday night with a beautiful card for Fun Fold Friday. I'll give you a sneak peek, but I'm not going to open it because I don't want to spoil the surprise. But we'll be making a sympathy card, and it is a gorgeous sympathy card. So something you can be looking forward to for Friday night. Okay, well, that's all I have for you tonight. Thank you so much for joining me on this Sunday night. I do want to point out, because I'll say this next week too, I am not going to come live on Easter. I want to spend the day with my family and friends, and so I will not be broadcasting a Simply Stamping Sunday on Easter. But I will be back next Sunday night and Friday night. Friday at 6, Sunday at 7. I hope you have a fabulous week, everyone. Good night.